This is Let's Talk Big, the big read with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel. The Owens Community College Campus Big Read is taking place now and throughout the semester, with the goal of bringing awareness of different perspectives through books. The Campus Read book is A Little Less Broken, How an Autism Diagnosis Finally Made Me Whole by Marion Shambari. It's the story of one woman's decades-long journey to a diagnosis of autism and the barriers that keep too many neurodivergent people from knowing their true selves. Now, sharing passages, topics, and events related to the book are Director of Library Services, Jane Berger, and Professor of English, Jen Hazel.
Welcome to Let's Talk Big. Jane and I are here with part 2 with James Zeller, coordinator of Student Life. James, we're so happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So when we were talking before, we were talking about yoga is where we started talking a little bit about that. And the question to you was, tell us about how someone can use yoga to benefit them.
Well, if you are neurodivergent, how can yoga help with any anxiety or just angst of life?
Well, just to be clear, the research isn't entirely out right now on neurodivergence and yoga. We're seeing some early indicators that can help. Certainly, some of the somatic work, the mind-body work, can certainly help. But it's just a little early with conclusions right now.
Sure.
We know that there are several processing components with autism and neurodivergence specifically, and so getting people to take a pause, interpret what the body signals are sending to the brain, and really just taking a moment with that proprioceptive component. We live in these bodies. We live such a fast-paced world that sometimes it comes at a given that, we're going to take our body and operate it this way or do that. But for somebody with neurodivergence, there might be some extra steps in there. There might be some sensory barriers. There might be different components going on, whether the lights are too bright, the noises are too loud, the sensation's too intense. And so really taking a moment to slow down, really taking a moment to just inventory what am I processing right now? And that's where yoga really steps in. So we talked a little bit about how yoga is union, whether that's mind-body union, mind-body breath, some mystical sense of self and other, or self and higher self. But just focusing on the mind-body connection right there, we know that this is very closely linked to what is called mindfulness, which is kind of a pop word nowadays.
It is, yeah, I agree.
But mindfulness is really just to take an inventory of what your experiences are and just being able to be with those experiences, not necessarily having a dissonance of naming them.
Sure.
If you're happy, and you don't clap your hands, how do you know it, right? And that's the question of mindfulness. How can I be happy without asking myself, am I happy? And so to just experience. And so, Jane, I think you were leading into the question of how do you quiet the mind?
Yes.
You don't. Ultimately, you don't control it, right? That's the whole issue is the mind is awareness, and awareness doesn't have a choice. Awareness is always going to be aware of whatever is presented, right? That subject-object dichotomy. And so with meditation, yoga, mindfulness, what we're trying to do is we're trying to go into that dichotomy itself. We're trying to understand our role as the witness, the observer, and sort of take a step back as we observe. Because oftentimes we have a narrative going in our head, right? And we identify with the thoughts. Sometimes we have an intrusive, invasive thought. We identify with it. Oh, I had a bad thought, and that makes me a bad person, and that, right? And so
Yep.
I think that's a really critical component of our modern neurosis that we're living in. And so when we're talking about meditation and mindfulness, number one, we have what's called, in the Buddhist context, prajnaparamita, perfection of wisdom. It's to be aware that you can't control the mind. The mind is there, and your ability to identify or not identify with the mind is tantamount to what we call mindfulness. And number 2 is maha karuna, or great compassion. And so how can I, in knowing that I'm not what I think I am, how can I redirect myself compassionately? How can I not criticize myself for having a negative thought, for being jealous of somebody else, for maybe getting angry or raising my voice? How can I not be so critical of myself? And so you realize that non-judgment is the real key here. You know, if you can detach from what you're experiencing and just witness it, you can be more compassionate to say, let's take our attention and focus it elsewhere. And so we're in these bodies, we have these senses that give us information about the world around us. Not to mention we have the sense of we're talking to ourselves in our head. We have metacognition, right? That's another sense in the East as opposed to a feature of the mind as here in the West. And so taking all this content together, there's a lot going on here. You know, we're getting inner experiences, we're getting external experiences. There's a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you stay balanced when new information's coming in, when you have sensations arising at the same time? That's where the breathing, the somatic awareness of here I am in a pose and I'm going to hold this pose for 3 minutes and it might be a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to stay here, you know. It's just being, which is again mindfulness or Zen or whatever you want to call it, meditation. But a lot of it is letting go of our expectation that things shouldn't be this way.
Does self-talk play into this at all? You know, like positive self-talk to help assuage those negative thoughts that creep in.
100%, right? We would call that in yoga, we would call it a sankalpa, or an intention, right? We set our intention, we repeat it, you know. A little bit of wishful thinking, right? If we don't already have self-love or self-compassion, right? I'm working on self-love. I'm working on loving myself. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
Right, so like it would be if I had a thought that I was like, I'm never going to be able to do this. Well, quite honestly, I probably will never be able to do
Self-fulfilling,
whatever
as
that
they
is.
say, yeah.
Versus being like, I got this.
Yeah.
I can handle
Yes.
this.
Yep.
And as you go into it, we didn't come up with that thought on our own. It was probably given to us by somebody else. And so that's another component of the work. When you get into meditation, you realize how loud the mind is. We can start with compassion going into it, you know, okay, I'm not good enough. That's not a thought that originated with me. Where did that come from? And once I figure out where it came from, now I can start to address it. I can disassociate from it. I know that's not my voice. That's somebody's voice that they gave me. And now I can finally start on the healing.
Oh, so I really like that, thinking about it in terms of it really didn't generate from me, it generated from somewhere else. So why is it I feel that I can't do X or I don't know X? Yeah.
Boy, I find this will be so helpful. I hope students take advantage of the yoga that you offer, because in the library, and especially now through the end of the term, when things are really ramping up, I find myself telling students when they come in like, oh, I've got a big test, or I've got this, I've got so much going on, I've got one thing at a time, you've got it. Keep telling yourself, you've got it. One thing at a time, you'll do it. Just keep thinking all the positive thoughts. Try to push away the negative so that they don't consume you. And oh, thank you, you know. But I really see now, I'm going to send them to yoga. I'm going to point right over to that board and say, this is where you need to be.
Well, one thing that is we are really, really lucky about is James will be joining us next semester for a book club.
Yes, that's right.
Where we will have yoga as part of the book club, which I think, and we'll have a nice mix of James talking about this and then giving us some poses and thinking about it. I think it would be fabulous to practice that, think about a thought of that someone may have given you, how do I push that away? And you know, Jane, when you were saying that, when you were talking with students, it just made me think about something that I need to bring back for myself, which is I used to be like, when I had all these things happening, like especially when I was in school, I would say like, okay, focus on the task at hand. I don't know why I never use that. I need to bring that back for myself, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And sometimes it is just the most simple thing to bring back to the your focus
Yeah.
that can make all the difference. But, it's the whole thing of you can't see the forest through the trees.
Well-
we get so bogged down.
Exactly. And it's like there's so many competing things that it is
Yeah.
just, like it feels like a lot. So for those who are interested in this will be the end of January, which means it'll be great for people to have time to practice before that James will be with us.
A New Year's
Noon.
resolution.
Yes.
go, yeah.
So end of January, the 29th
Yep.
at noon in College Hall 160. Come prepared to do some stretching and to talk book and talk about putting bad thoughts out of your mind
Yep. Yep.
and revisiting where those
Yep,
might
just-
actually
Yep.
have come from.
This has been Let's Talk Big. Catch Let's Talk Big anytime on the RSS feed or the Owens Outcome Plus YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. Join us again for Let's Talk Big, the big read with James Berger and Jen Hazel.
On the phone tonight.